has to go through a process. There was someone who wanted to teach, that whole Dead Chiropractic Society stuff. And I was supposed to review the syllabus since I'm the content expert and I teach that stuff. And I said, why would we bring somebody on campus who is saying that our mission statement and what we espouse as how chiropractic should be taught and what chiropractors do, why should we have someone on here who is espousing the exact opposite? And so that one didn't get to happen. But we do have, I would say, a lot of the other people who teach the selectives are not on staff. Most of them are not. But if they're going to be espousing something that goes against the mission, it's usually turned down.
But those, you talk about selectives, they're credited courses.
Yes, they are.
They're not just seminars, weekend
seminars. No,
seminars.
they get 1 or 2 credits for each one they take. So it's 1 credit hour for each 15 hours of class. Okay, and anyway, so so there's that. And then, but the other thing I also believe in is that there should be a certain amount of academic freedom. The problem we've had in the past is, and I can remember someone at a Palmer homecoming, he teaches at one of the Palmer colleges, saying that somebody came and was invited to their homecoming and he just completely trashed their whole program. And this fellow, who's very renowned in chiropractic technique circles, was offended, and rightly so. And he said to their homecoming committee, why would you invite somebody like that who's just saying that our program is garbage? And I think it's the same thing here. Unfortunately, too many chiropractors, when they think what they do is the best and nothing else is as good as they do, they trash everything. And I just don't think that's an appropriate way to use the facilities of the college you're on. And so we don't have too many of those now because of just that kind of behavior. Coming in and saying, everything you're learning is crap, no offense, but and that you need to learn all this other stuff. And I just think that doesn't help things. But it is really typical of what happens in our profession. The American populace starts being more and more vocal, and they become their own healthcare advocates and say to their healthcare plans, we want this. It will happen more and more and more. And I think that's what's happened in the United States and why there is whatever integration there is, although I don't really think that there is very much. I keep hoping for a day that there will be more and that you could go with your garden variety back pain to a portal of entry physician at your healthcare home or whatever they're going to call them here in the United States. And they'll say, oh, you have uncomplicated back pain. I'm going to send you to a chiropractor who's on staff, whose treatment room is 3 doors down. Or you have inflammation, let's send you to an acupuncturist first. We'll take care of that, then we'll send you to this person. And that's what I see as integration. And I don't know that that's really happening in all that many places. I think there are some private clinics that are in the country that have concierge type medical care or health care. And you pay for it, you pay a lot. But that is not something that any American has access to. And I tend to be kind of radical that way, where I think, why shouldn't, in the richest country in the world, why shouldn't everybody have equal access to health care? And why should we spend so much money on health care and have such poor outcomes? And but at least in Canada, you have your health care paid for. I know they're seeing as I said, my stepson married a Canadian. He lives in Toronto. Their kids, they get born, they get their health insurance card, and they have access to health care. And it doesn't matter who you are. Yes, you can buy higher end care, but the reality is it's a much more level playing field than it is in the United States. And really, you can either have really good coverage, or you can have bad coverage, or you can have no coverage. And so I just think that's criminal that we are the wealthiest country in the world and we have such poor healthcare outcomes. It's a tragedy.
In regards with the current trend in certain universities and colleges in Europe, in your opinion, what is the future of the concept of subluxation?
Well, I think it's looking at what happens when a joint, not just the bone, not just the nerve, but the whole joint complex is not working as it should. I look at it from a physiologic point of view, and then look at the ramifications to all the tissues that make up that part of the joint, or receive information from that joint, or perfuse that joint, or those soft tissues, or move it, or all of that. And so I think we're going to get to, I think, a more generalized view of what a subluxation or joint dysfunction is, and it's not going to be so sectarian. You know, that, well, that's a chiropractic approach, that's an osteopathic approach, that's a manual medicine approach, that's a physical therapy approach. I think we're, you know, it's like the old song, you say potato, I say potato. We're all talking about the same thing. We just call it by a different name. And I'm sure even in French, you say subluxation differently than I do. And to some degree, I think the old subluxation complex or concept that straight chiropractors talk about, for which there is no evidence, and that the public doesn't even buy, because it's not the end of the 19th century. It's now, you know, we're into the second decade of the 21st century. I think we need to have a better explanation. And I think when you look at things from a perspective of what happens when a joint does not move well and how it can impact the whole body economy, it is quite impressive. And we don't have to make stuff up or do quasi-religious things to explain what we do. You know, there are neurological, there are physiological, there are mechanical explanations for why adjusting a joint that doesn't work right makes you feel so much better.
If you had a research question to suggest regarding technique, what would it be?
What would it be? It's interesting after working at Palmer. I would like to, okay, so here's what I would like to do if I had all the money in the world to set this up. You know, I was just telling my class this morning, there are 300 named chiropractic techniques. And that's crazy, right? And which is why we don't use any names here, because it's just craziness in my mind. And they all say that their technique is the best. And yet, and manual medicine people say what they do is the best, and physical therapists say, and osteopaths say what they do is the best. And, you know, we all say that it's the best. But the evidence doesn't show that anything is better than anything else. That really what is important is restoring motion to a joint and its tissues. So I would actually like to do a head-to-head kind of research where you take 3 different named chiropractic techniques for a certain condition, and you see if they do have better outcomes or if the outcomes are all the same. And you take 3 of the most commonly applied techniques, whether it's, you know, Gonstead, diversified, I don't know, flexion distraction, whatever, or Thompson terminal point table, or activator. Do they get any different results? Because I would like us to have something where we can say, look, it's inducing motion. It's restoring the integrity and the function of the joint and the attendant soft tissues or tissues that make up that joint, and the nervous system reporting. When that's restored, people get better. And I would like to put to rest some of this nonsense that is such a big part of our profession that I don't think helps us. You know, I'm better than you are. Well, show me. You can't show me, but you can show me that we all sort of get the same results. I think I'm just as opinionated as every other chiropractor. You know, as I said to my class this morning, one of my favorite quotes, and I can't remember who said it, but I've loved it since I read it, and it's this: for every chiropractor, there is an equal and opposite chiropractor. And I think that you know, on one hand, I think it's great that we're a very diverse profession. What I don't like is that we can't accept our own diversity and that we're always backstabbing and name calling because you don't do it the way I do it. You know, that's just craziness.